Hello, it's time for another episode of Discipleship today. My name is Bob Benson. I pastor Christ Lutheran Church in Greenhurst, New York. We've been going through a couple of different books. We're into Second Timothy now. Second Timothy is a book that Paul wrote to Timothy, this young pastor, and kind of leading him through how a church should be led and the relationships that you develop in it. Paul was discipling Timothy. And we're going to use this as a text today to talk about some discipleship things. We've been working through the book. We're into the last few verses of chapter 4. I'm going to read verses 19 through 22, and then we're going to go back and talk about it. And I'm reading from the English Standard Version. Greet Priscilla and Aquila and the household of Onesiphorus. Erastus remained at Corinth, and I left Trophimus, who was ill, at Miletus. Do your best to come to me before winter. Abyssus sends greetings to you, and Pudens, and Linus, and Claudia, and all the brothers. The Lord be with you in spirit. Grace be with you. Paul here is closing his letter with some really personal comments about specific people. See, discipleship is always built out of relationships. And Paul had relationships with each of the people that were named here in this closing of the book. He wanted to make sure he personally said something to each of these people who were so important to him. Priscilla and Aquila, the household of Onesiphorus, Erastus, Trophimus, who was ill at Miletus, Abylus, Pudens, Linus, Claudia, all of these people he had a personal relationship with, and he wanted to make sure that he said something specifically to them. We build discipleship relationships with individuals, but they have to come out of a different relationship that we start with people. Discipleship is important to me because I was a product of discipleship, so I pour into discipleship. I have probably 5 or 6 meetings a week to disciple people, to develop them, to encourage them to do what God's called them to do. And that's what we're supposed to be doing out of those relationships. So I need to ask a question. Can you disciple unbelievers? And it's out of that relationship sometimes that you get people, you get opportunities to lead people into a personal relationship with Jesus. As we're loving on people, and they don't necessarily have to be believers. And as a matter of fact, we're all supposed to have relationships with people who are not believers, and we're supposed to live at peace with them. We're trying to be attractively winsome as we draw them to Christ. We're trying to be like Christ. Did Christ just hang out with people who were believers? No, very often he got accused of hanging out with the sinners, the tax collectors, the prostitutes. Do we do that? And I would challenge you in your discipleship relationships that you really need to have some relationships with unbelievers to be able to talk to them about what you believe and why you believe it. Now, that doesn't come right away. Sometimes you have to develop just a friendly relationship, and out of that, then you can become a discipler. So that's what I would encourage you to do. Don't just hang out with people that look like you, think like you. It's a challenge when we can discuss things, we can drash them out. So for Drash Ministries and Discipleship today, let me encourage you to do that. Go and make disciples and be disciples.